My name is Sandra Collins, and I'm 19 years old. Before I share my testimony, I want you to know that every word I'm about to tell you is true. On February 13, 2024, I died for 8 minutes and 45 seconds during a severe allergic reaction, and in those moments, Jesus revealed profound truths about Valentine's Day and the shocking reason why we should not celebrate it. I literally saw and experienced something that completely shattered everything I thought I knew about love, faith, and what it means to be a true Christian. But before we start, please let me know where you're listening from. It will be nice to feel closer, even if we're physically apart. Also, don't forget to like and comment on what you thought about this near-death experience testimony. Let's have a fair and open discussion so we can learn from each other on this channel. Enjoy listening. I was a sophomore, and like most young people, I was excited about Valentine's Day. My boyfriend Mark and I had been dating for 2 years, and he had planned something special for February 14th. That evening, I was at a pre-Valentine's Day party with my Christian fellowship group. Someone had brought homemade cookies, and within minutes of eating one, my throat began to close. At first, I thought I was just thirsty. But then everything started happening so fast. My face felt hot, my tongue began swelling, and suddenly I couldn't breathe. The last thing I remember was someone screaming for an EpiPen and my friend Rachel calling 911. Then everything went black. What happened next changed my life forever. I felt myself floating above my body, watching as paramedics worked frantically to save me. I could see Rachel holding my hand, tears streaming down her face as she prayed. But I felt no fear, no pain, just an overwhelming sense of peace. Suddenly, I was enveloped in the most beautiful light imaginable. It wasn't just bright, it was alive with colors that don't exist on earth, pulsing with pure love and joy. That's when I saw him. Jesus stood before me, his presence so magnificent that I fell to my knees. His eyes held such depth of love and wisdom that I knew instantly who he was. When he smiled at me, years of doubt and uncertainty melted away in an instant. "Sandra," he said, "I have brought you here because I have important truths to share with my people. You will return to tell them what I show you." He reached out his hand, and as I took it, we began walking through what seemed like a garden of light. Everything around us was more real, more vivid than anything on earth. The flowers sang praises, and the very air sparkled with glory. "My precious child," Jesus began, "my heart grieves for how my people have been deceived. They celebrate days that bring me no joy, thinking they honor me. Today, I will show you the truths about Valentine's Day that will shake the foundations of what many believe." I was stunned. "But Lord," I said, "Valentine's Day is about love, isn't it? And you are in love." Jesus' face grew serious. "What men call love on Valentine's Day is not my love. Let me show you why." Suddenly, we were watching scenes from ancient Rome. But we weren't just watching, we were there, standing in the midst of the Lupercalia festival. The sights and sounds were overwhelming. I saw the sacrifices, the bloodied priests, the drunken revelry, the sexual immorality. I could smell the blood of sacrificed animals, hear the screams of women being whipped with strips of goat skin. It was horrifying. "This," Jesus said, "is the true origin of what people now call Valentine's Day. Watch carefully, for I will show you 12 reasons why my people must not participate in this celebration." What Jesus revealed next was so shocking, so profound, that I knew my life would never be the same. He showed me truths that would challenge everything most Christians believe about this holiday. Jesus' expression was both stern and loving as he began revealing the 12 reasons why his people should not celebrate Valentine's Day. We stood in what seemed like a space between time, where past, present, and future merged into one. "First," Jesus said, "observe how this celebration mocks my holy nature." He waved his hand, and we watched scenes from various Lupercalia festivals throughout history. This festival was dedicated to pagan gods: Lupercus, the god of fertility; Juno, the goddess of marriage; and Pan, the god of nature. My word clearly commands in Deuteronomy 12 verses 29 to 32, "When the Lord your God cuts off before you the nations which you go to dispossess, take heed to yourself that you are not ensnared to follow them. You shall not worship the Lord your God in that way." I watched in horror as ancient Romans performed their rituals. "But Lord," I protested, Surely modern Valentine's Day is different? Jesus shook his head. My child, you cannot make holy what begins in paganism. This is the second reason. The foundation is corrupt. Watch. He showed me how the Catholic Church attempted to Christianize the pagan festival. I saw Pope Gelasius I in 496 AD declaring February 14th as Saint Valentine's Day. They changed the name, Jesus explained, but the essence remained pagan. The symbols, the focus on romantic love, the timing, all came from pagan worship. The third reason, Jesus continued, is the promotion of sexual immorality. I saw scenes from modern Valentine's Day celebrations, couples using the day as an excuse for physical intimacy, many engaging in premarital relations without considering the consequences. Jesus reminded me of his word, flee sexual immorality. Your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit. In one vision, I saw a young couple, their hearts filled with excitement for Valentine's Day, but with little regard for the sacredness of the body and the commitment that love truly requires. The world encourages you to seek pleasure, but I call you to holiness, Jesus said. He showed how the day encourages relationships based on physical desires instead of emotional and spiritual connection. Then Jesus revealed how Valentine's Day often promotes a false version of love. For this fourth reason, I witnessed countless scenes of people feeling pressured to express their affection through extravagant gifts, jewelry, flowers, expensive dinners, while ignoring love and care for each other the rest of the year. One couple exchanged gifts, their smiles forced, masking their deeper struggles. I am in love, he said, and my love is not confined to a single day or expressed through worldly traditions. The fifth reason was shown through scenes of people using Valentine's Day as a measure of their worth. I saw a young woman posting a picture on social media, holding a bouquet of flowers, her face forced into a smile. The caption read, "I must be special because someone loves me today." Then another scene showed a young man sitting alone, scrolling through his phone, looking at all the posts of couples celebrating, his heart heavy with a sense of inadequacy. My children's value comes from my love for them, Jesus said. This day causes many to seek validation from human attention and affection. Jesus illuminated how people, especially the young, often equate their worth with the attention or gifts they receive on this day. Instead of understanding their intrinsic value as beloved children of God, they chase fleeting gestures of love from others. A scene of a mother and child emerged. She was upset because her son didn't give her a card. "It's just one day," she muttered, "and he still hasn't shown he loves me." Jesus explained that love should not be measured by material things or superficial gestures. For the sixth reason, Jesus showed me the emotional damage caused by Valentine's Day. I saw a young girl sitting in her room, the table in front of her littered with unopened valentines. She had hoped for a card from someone, anyone, but there was none. Tears streamed down her face as she clutched her stuffed animal tightly. Another scene showed a woman scrolling through Instagram, comparing her boyfriend's average gift to that of her friend's expensive, extravagant bouquet. Her heart sank as she felt her love was less than hers. This day creates unnecessary pain and reinforces worldly values, Jesus explained. Many people, especially young ones, equate their self-worth to the love others give them, rather than finding comfort in my love. I saw men feeling pressured to prove their love through expensive presents, their hearts heavy with the financial strain. Jesus reminded me that love does not require material proof, but rather sincere acts of kindness and sacrifice. A husband who had no money for a gift was depicted struggling with guilt, thinking he wasn't good enough. This, Jesus said, is not how I define love. The seventh reason was revealed as Jesus showed me the contrast between worldly romance and godly love. Jesus showed me scenes of worldly romance, people exchanging chocolates and roses, displaying physical affection, but with little deeper connection. I watched as a couple laughed in a restaurant, but there was a void in their eyes, an emptiness behind the smiles. It was clear they were seeking something outside themselves, an external validation, an expectation of joy that never fully filled them. My love is about sacrifice, service, and holiness, he said. Valentine's Day promotes superficial emotions and physical attraction. I was shown the contrast through the life of a couple in a committed relationship who had struggled for years. Their love was not about grand gifts or fleeting moments, but about walking through hard seasons together, serving one another in small, humble ways. Jesus highlighted how true love is not about appearances or passions, but about enduring commitment, sacrificial service, and holiness. The love he offers us reflects this deep, authentic commitment to another's well-being, even when it's hard. For the 8th reason, we watched scenes of early Christian churches. I saw the faces of early believers who gathered together, not for grand celebrations, but for quiet worship, prayer, and service. They didn't need a day to express their love for each other. Each day was an opportunity to live out love in its purest form. Notice, Jesus said, none of my early followers celebrated this day. It was not part of my church until paganism crept in. I never commanded it, nor did my apostles practice it. Scenes unfolded of early Christian saints, their focus on faith, love, and holiness, not the worldly celebrations that had taken root later. Jesus explained that while some traditions arose through history, many were not in line with his teachings. The worship of idols and worldly celebrations crept into the church over time, he said, showing how traditions were often shaped by culture and not by his commandments. My apostles focused on loving others every day, not setting aside a single day to display affection. The 9th reason was demonstrated through visions of God's true holy days. Jesus showed me the beautiful meanings behind Passover, Pentecost, Tabernacles, and other biblical festivals. These are the celebrations I ordained, he said. They tell the story of salvation and point to my plan for humanity. Why do my people ignore these to celebrate days I never commanded? I was shown a family celebrating Passover, sitting around a table, retelling the story of deliverance, teaching the next generation the significance of God's plan. These festivals are rich with meaning, Jesus explained. They're not just rituals but celebrations of my redemptive work in history. The 10th reason was revealed as Jesus showed me how Valentine's Day creates division in the church. I saw a congregation where some members exchanged flowers and cards, while others abstained. Some did so out of ignorance, unaware of the pagan origins, while others knew but participated anyway. In the midst of this, a few believers stood apart, troubled by the practice. This creates unnecessary discord among my people, Jesus explained. The division in the church wasn't just about the holiday itself, but the varying levels of understanding and conviction among believers. Some saw it as harmless fun, while others felt it was a compromise of their faith. The discomfort among those who abstained from celebrating Valentine's Day was palpable. One woman whispered, "I don't want to be seen as judgmental, but I can't celebrate something that doesn't honor Christ." Jesus showed me how this inconsistency leads to misunderstandings, judgment, and division among the body of Christ. Unity in me comes through knowing and living according to my word, he said. For the 11th reason, Jesus demonstrated how the day promotes idolatry. I saw people idolizing romantic relationships. One woman was desperately scrolling through her social media feed, comparing her relationship to others' pictures of bouquets and candlelit dinners. Another man looked at his partner, longing to feel needed and validated by her affection, making her love the center of his happiness. People make relationships, romance, and human love into idols, Jesus explained. They seek fulfillment in human relationships rather than in me. Jesus showed me the emptiness behind these actions. I witnessed a couple whose outward displays of love seemed perfect, but in their private moments, they were empty, yearning for more. They didn't understand that the perfect love they sought could only be found in Jesus. When you put human affection above me, you rob yourself of true fulfillment, Jesus said. He reminded me that love, when placed before God, can become an idol that distorts the purpose of relationships. Finally, for the 12th reason, Jesus showed me how Valentine's Day distorts the meaning of true love. I was shown a couple exchanging gifts, their faces filled with momentary joy, but their connection was based on fleeting emotions, not lasting commitment. My love is defined in 1 Corinthians 13, he said. It is patient, kind, not self-seeking. Valentine's Day promotes a love that is emotional, self-centered, and temporary. I saw a woman who felt devastated after her partner forgot to acknowledge Valentine's Day. Her self-worth was tied to his attention. Jesus explained that worldly love often seeks validation, makes demands, and is fleeting, while his love is unconditional, sacrificial, and eternal. True love isn't about feelings or gifts, it's about enduring commitment, service, and humility, he said. After showing me these reasons, Jesus took me to what seemed like a vast library in heaven. "These are the records of human history," he explained. "Let me show you more about the true history of Valentine's Day." We saw documented evidence of how Lupercalia was celebrated, the details more shocking than any history book had recorded. I watched as young women were paired with men through a lottery system, leading to relationships that often ended in abuse and heartbreak. Jesus showed me how the Catholic Church, in attempting to end these practices, actually perpetuated them by merely changing their name and some surface aspects. "Notice," Jesus said, pointing to scenes throughout history, how the same patterns of materialistic expression, sexual immorality, and pagan influence have continued through the centuries, just in different forms. Then Jesus showed me something that broke my heart: scenes of modern churches incorporating Valentine's Day celebrations, unknowingly mixing paganism with Christianity. "My people perish for lack of knowledge," he said. "They have accepted the world's traditions without questioning their origins or implications." He then took me to what appeared to be a massive control room of time. "Watch what happens in relationships throughout the year," he instructed. I saw how Valentine's Day created artificial pressure points in relationships, leading to disappointment, comparison, and often sin. "My child," Jesus said, "I am sending you back with this message. But first, let me show you what true godly love looks like." Jesus then transported us to what seemed like a vast amphitheater of living light. Before us, scenes of true godly love played out like a divine cinema. "This," Jesus said, "is what I intended love to be." I watched in awe as he showed me countless examples of genuine Christ-centered love. A husband waking up early to pray for his wife and children before they started their day. A wife supporting her husband through a difficult time with patience and understanding. Communities coming together to help those in need. People showing kindness to strangers without expecting anything in return. Parents teach their children God's ways with gentleness and consistency. "Notice," Jesus said, "none of these expressions of love require a special day or worldly traditions. This is love lived out daily, as I commanded." Then he showed me something that made me weep, scenes from his own life on earth. I watched as he washed his disciples' feet, healed the sick, comforted the brokenhearted, and ultimately gave his life on the cross. "This is true love," he said. "Not the commercialized emotions promoted by Valentine's Day, but sacrificial, selfless love that seeks the highest good of others." Jesus then revealed more shocking truths about how Valentine's Day affects the spiritual realm. I saw dark spiritual forces using the holiday to corrupt people's understanding of love and draw them away from God's truth. The enemy, Jesus explained, has cleverly disguised this pagan celebration with hearts and flowers, making it appear innocent. But beneath the surface lies a scheme to distract my people from my appointed times and my true definition of love. He showed me how demons actually rejoiced when Christians participated in Valentine's Day celebrations, seeing it as a victory in their plan to mix paganism with Christianity. This sight shook me to my core. "But Lord," I asked, "what about Saint Valentine? Wasn't he a Christian martyr?" Jesus' face grew solemn. "Watch carefully," he said. Multiple versions of Saint Valentine's story played out before us, each different from the last. See how even the identity of this saint is unclear? Multiple stories, multiple traditions, none with clear historical truth. Should my people build celebrations on such uncertain foundations? Then Jesus showed me something that truly shocked me: the spiritual impact of celebrating Valentine's Day. I could see dark clouds forming over churches that embraced the holiday, while those that remained faithful to God's appointed times were surrounded by divine light. "My child," Jesus said, "I want you to understand the severity of this issue." He then showed me scenes from the Bible, the Israelites being punished for mixing pagan practices with worship of the true God, the prophet's warning against adopting Gentile customs, the early church struggling to remain pure from worldly influences. "These examples were written for your instruction," he explained. "When my people ignore these warnings and embrace worldly celebrations, they repeat the same errors." Jesus then took me to see God's appointed festivals in their full spiritual significance. I saw Passover pointing to his sacrifice, Pentecost showing the outpouring of his Spirit, tabernacles representing his coming kingdom. Each holy day was alive with meaning and purpose, telling the story of salvation from beginning to end. "These are the celebrations I gave my people," Jesus said. "Each one reveals part of my plan for humanity. Yet many of my followers ignore these to celebrate days I never ordained." Then Jesus showed me something that broke my heart: scenes of young Christians struggling with their faith because of the contradictions they see in the church. "They watch my people claim to follow me while embracing worldly traditions," he explained. "This causes confusion and weakens their faith." As my time with Jesus drew to a close, he gave me specific instructions about sharing what I'd seen. "Tell them about this truth," he said. "But more importantly, help them understand that this isn't about rules, it's about their relationship with me. I want my people to return to my ways, to celebrate my appointed times, to express love as I defined it." Jesus then showed me glimpses of the future, how sharing this message would impact lives. I saw people being set free from worldly traditions, families discovering the joy of celebrating God's true holy days, relationships being transformed by genuine godly love. "Remember," Jesus said, "when you return, many will reject this message. Some will mock you, others will argue that it doesn't matter. But share it anyway, for those who have ears to hear will understand." Just before sending me back, Jesus gave me one final vision. I saw myself in the future, teaching others about God's appointed times, helping them break free from worldly traditions, showing them how to express love God's way. "Sandra," Jesus said, "I am giving you this mission because time is short. My return is approaching, and I want my bride to be pure, undefiled by worldly customs and pagan traditions." Suddenly, I felt a strong pulling sensation. Jesus' face began to fade, but his final words rang clearly in my spirit. "Remember, my child, true love isn't found in a day man created, but in a life lived according to my word." The next thing I knew, I was gasping for air in the hospital room. The clock read 12:17 a.m., February 14th. Doctors later told me I had experienced an extremely severe allergic reaction to tree nuts in the cookies, and they had almost lost me multiple times. My recovery was rapid and inexplicable by medical standards. Within days, I was strong enough to begin sharing what I had seen. The first person I told was Mark, my boyfriend. He listened patiently but couldn't understand why I no longer wanted to celebrate Valentine's Day. We eventually broke up, but I knew I had to be faithful to what Jesus had shown me. After my experience with Jesus, I began studying the Bible with a whole new perspective. I was especially drawn to passages about God's appointed times and his clear instructions about avoiding pagan practices. What amazed me was how everything Jesus showed me was perfectly aligned with Scripture. Verses like Deuteronomy 12 verses 29 to 32, where God warns against adopting pagan practices, and 2 Corinthians 6 verse 17, about being separate from unclean things, really stuck out. 1 Corinthians 10 verse 21 also made so much sense, where it says we can't be part of both the Lord's table and the table of demons. And Jeremiah 10 verse 2 cautions against following the ways of the nations. The more I dug into my research, the more I found that everything Jesus had shown me about Valentine's Day was true. I discovered its real roots in the pagan festival of Lupercalia and the confusing and contradictory stories about Saint Valentine. I also couldn't ignore how commercialized it's become, with little connection to true love, but a strong focus on physical attraction and romantic love instead of the godly love we're meant to show. The emotional and spiritual harm it causes became clear, as well as how it mixes pagan practices with Christianity. What really took me by surprise, though, was how much my ability to love grew when I stopped celebrating Valentine's Day. Without focusing on just one day of the year, where love is commercialized, I found myself more open to showing Christ's love every single day. I want to make sure this message isn't about judging anyone who celebrates Valentine's Day. It's simply about sharing the truth Jesus showed me in those precious moments with him. He desires for his people to turn back to his ways, celebrate his appointed times, and express love in the way he defined. I know this message might not be popular. It challenges traditions and practices that many hold dear. But I can't ignore what Jesus revealed to me. These truths weren't just for me, they're for anyone who truly wants to follow Jesus with a pure heart. Some people ask if I miss celebrating Valentine's Day. Honestly, I don't. How could I miss something temporary when I've encountered something eternal? How could I settle for the world's version of love when I've met the author of love himself? As I wrap this up, I want to share Jesus' final message. He's calling us to return to his ways, to separate ourselves from worldly practices, and to celebrate the times he established. It's not about legalism, it's about love, the true love that transforms lives and honors him. If you're watching this, I encourage you to pray about what I've shared. Ask God to reveal his truth to you. Study his word. Look into the origins of the holidays you celebrate. And most importantly, seek to live out love his way, every day of the year.